There is a land where the earth stretches like an ocean of stone, a land of mountains, wind, and silence. This is Anatolia, the heart of Turkey, a place older than empires, where shepherds have walked for thousands of years beneath an endless sky. And in that vastness, one figure has always walked beside them, the Kangal dog, the silent guardian of the high plains. No one knows exactly when the Kangal first appeared. Its story is woven so deeply into the soil of Anatolia that it feels less like history and more like legend. Some say its ancestors came with nomadic tribes from Central Asia. Others believe it was born here, carved by the wind, the wolves, and the will of man. But what everyone agrees on is this: the Kangal was not bred for beauty, it was bred for purpose. For thousands of years, the people of Sivas province, especially the town of Kangal, lived by herding sheep across harsh, open land. The wolves came at night, the snow came in winter, and death came for any flock left unguarded. So the shepherds did what humanity has always done when faced with danger. They created balance. They raised a dog that could stand between predator and prey, calm, fearless, and unbreakable. The Kangal was that balance. Not a hunter, not a killer, a protector. It was born not in kennels, but in mountains. Its first cradle was the dust. Its first teacher was survival. While other dogs sought comfort near the fire, the Kangal stood in the snow, eyes fixed on the horizon, ears tuned to the faintest sound of movement. Every breath of wind could mean danger. Every shadow could mean a wolf. It learned not from humans alone, but from the land itself. The freezing nights taught patience, the long days taught endurance, and the wolves, those ancient rivals, taught respect. Because unlike most dogs, the Kangal does not chase its enemies. It faces them. When a wolf approaches, the Kangal steps forward, not barking wildly, not panicking, but standing tall, a living wall between life and loss. Its gaze alone is enough to make most predators think twice. And if they don't, the Kangal finishes the conversation in silence. Power here is not shown. It's understood. Over centuries, these dogs became part of the shepherd's very soul. Each pup was raised beside the flock it would one day protect. They grew together, slept together, lived together. The sheep knew their scent, their sound, their rhythm. To the shepherds, the Kangal was more than a tool. It was family, a creature trusted with everything they owned, and often everything they loved. No written contract, no spoken promise, only loyalty. That was enough. The world outside Anatolia did not know of the Kangal then. Its legend existed only in the mountains, passed through stories told around campfires, of dogs that fought wolves 3 times their size and never backed down, of guardians that would stand between death and their flock until the last breath. But within those stories was truth. Because the Kangal was not just defending sheep, it was defending heritage. In the high plains of Sivas, to lose a flock was to lose a year's labor, to lose honor, to lose survival itself. And so, these dogs became the living shield of a way of life that refused to disappear. Strong, silent, loyal. The Kangal became the heartbeat of Anatolia. Every line of its body told a story, the massive head shaped by centuries of confrontation, the dense coat built for icy nights, the calm eyes that had seen generations pass without fear. Even today, when you stand before a Kangal, you feel that history. You feel the quiet gravity of a creature born from necessity. a guardian that does not serve for food or praise, but for love of duty, for bond, for belonging. In the dust of Anatolia, where shepherds still guide their flocks through endless valleys, you can see the same image that has existed for millennia: a man, his sheep, and beside him the shadow of a giant with golden fur and a lion's heart. That is the beginning of the Kangal, not a breed created by human ambition, but a legend forged by survival itself. When dawn breaks over the Anatolian plateau, the light arrives slowly, spilling over mountains, kissing frost-covered grass, and waking the shepherd's world. The air is sharp, the silence endless, and then, through that silence, comes movement. Hundreds of sheep begin to stir. A whistle sounds, and somewhere on the edge of the horizon, a shape rises, broad, calm, unhurried. The Kangal. It walks like a shadow-given form, head low, tail curved like a scimitar, every step measured with the confidence of one who knows exactly who he is. No leash, no command, just duty, ancient, unquestioned, eternal. For centuries this dog has been the shepherd's shield, a guardian bred not to serve man's vanity, but to protect life itself. In Anatolia, danger does not announce itself. It comes on the wind, a low growl from the hills, a flicker of movement in the brush. The wolves are watching. Always. The shepherd cannot afford fear. Neither can his flock. So the Kangal carries it for them. When a threat appears, there is no panic, no barking frenzy, just a stillness that feels almost holy. The Kangal lifts its head, stares into the wild, and waits. Because this is not a fight born of rage. It is a ritual of balance. Predator and protector, both part of the same land, both deserving of respect. But when the line is crossed, when a wolf lunges for the flock, the Kangal moves like lightning wrapped in silence. In that instant, everything changes. The peaceful guardian becomes a storm. Its muscles coil, its voice thunders, and the ground itself seems to answer its call. Wolves do not often win those battles, not because they lack courage, but because the Kangal is courage, embodied, ancient, absolute. Its bite force is among the greatest in the canine world, but it is not violence that makes it feared, it is control. A Kangal knows when to act, when to stop, when to stand down. It protects not out of anger, but out of love. For the flock, for the shepherd, for the land that gave it life. And that is why, in rural Turkey, the Kangal is not just a dog. It is heritage. Villagers speak its name with pride, and often with reverence. They say a good Kangal can sense danger before the shepherd does, that it can read the language of the earth itself. Some believe each Kangal is born with a spirit, a guardian soul that carries the memory of every battle its ancestors fought. That's why, even today, they are blessed as puppies. Their necks adorned with iron collars covered in spikes, not as decoration, but as armor, forged by the same blacksmiths who once made swords. Those collars are called chengal, and each spike tells a story, a promise to stand between life and loss. At night, when the stars cover Anatolia, you can see their silhouettes against the firelight, massive, silent, watching. The sheep sleep without fear. The shepherd closes his eyes, and the Kangal remains awake. Always. Through generations, this bond has never broken. Even in an age of technology and machines, the Kangal still walks beside man. Not because it has to, but because it chooses to. In the West, people often see the Kangal's size, its power, its fame in viral videos, a giant dog standing toe-to-toe with wolves or lions. But to understand it, you must see what lies beneath that strength. Calm discipline, devotion. It does not exist to fight, it exists to protect. It does not seek dominance, it seeks peace. And that's what makes the Kangal more than just a guardian. It's a symbol of balance itself. Every shepherd knows, as long as the Kangal stands, the land is safe. The flock will live, the lineage will continue. Because the Kangal does not just guard sheep, it guards a way of life, one that has survived for 1,000 years, carried by wind, dust, and the silent promise of a dog that never breaks its word. In every culture, there are creatures that seem to step out of the ordinary and into legend. In Turkey, that creature is the Kangal. It is more than a dog. It is a story, whispered by shepherds, sung in poems, carved into the identity of a nation that understands what loyalty means. In the villages of Anatolia, children grow up hearing tales of Kangals that stood alone against packs of wolves, of dogs that saved entire flocks in the middle of snowstorms, of guardians that fought off bears and walked away without fear. The stories are many, but the truth behind them is even greater. Because the Kangal's strength is not fantasy, it is fact. With a bite force that rivals the lion's and a body built like living armor, the Kangal stands among the most powerful guardians on Earth. Yet the real secret of its strength lies not in its jaw, but in its mind. Watch a Kangal face danger, and you'll understand. It doesn't react in panic. It calculates. It moves with purpose, quiet, confident, aware. It knows when to step forward, when to hold the line, when to fight, and when to forgive. That control is what separates the Kangal from all others. It is not merely muscle, it is intelligence with conscience. In ancient times, Turks believed these dogs carried a warrior's soul. They were said to embody the spirit of the steppe, fierce, free, and loyal unto death. Even their color carries meaning. That fawn coat, that black mask, symbols of humility and mystery. The mask was seen as sacred, a mark of both warrior and monk. In folklore, people said that when God created the Kangal, he dipped his hand in shadow and touched its face, to remind it that even the strongest must remain humble. That's why the Kangal does not boast. It simply is. Where other dogs bark to prove strength, the Kangal's silence speaks louder. A look from its dark eyes can stop conflict before it begins. Predators know it. So do humans. There's a saying among shepherds, when the Kangal rises, the mountain stands still. And it's true, because the Kangal's power is not about domination, it's about presence. This is why the breed has inspired fear, respect, and even superstition. Some villagers say a Kangal can sense deceit. Others claim it will not serve a cruel master. They call it the dog that knows your soul. In Turkish songs and proverbs, its name appears beside words like courage, faith, and loyalty. Its very image, tall, strong, black-masked, has become a national symbol, printed on coins, statues, and flags across the Sivas region. And yet, beyond all the myth and admiration, there lies a truth that humbles even the proudest owner. The Kangal's greatness does not come from training. It comes from character. It was never designed to impress the world. It was designed to serve one purpose, to protect. Whether that means standing in a storm, walking all night beside the flock, or facing death without fear, the Kangal does it without hesitation. Because that's what loyalty means here. Not obedience, devotion, You can take the Kangal out of Anatolia, but you cannot take Anatolia out of the Kangal. Even when it lives far from home, its instincts remain the same. It scans the horizon. It guards the gate. It waits for the command that never needs to be spoken. That's why no matter where it goes, from America to Africa, the Kangal remains what it always was. The shepherd's shadow, the wolf's equal, the land's protector. And yet, in all its might, there is gentleness. Children in Turkish villages play with them freely, climbing on their backs, tugging their ears. The same dog that can stop a wolf will lie still as a child falls asleep on its paw. That is the true paradox of the Kangal: strength wrapped in serenity, power guided by peace. In the West, people often mistake it for aggression. They see its size, its stance, its silence, and misunderstand. But those who know the Kangal know better. It is not a beast of war. It is a keeper of balance, a creature that knows exactly when to fight and exactly when not to. That wisdom is what makes it legendary. Because while others roar to prove power, the Kangal's silence tells a different truth. That real strength does not shout, it simply stands. The wind that once carried the Kangal's howl across the Anatolian plains now carries its name across the world. From the deserts of Africa to the ranches of America, from snowy farms in Scandinavia to mountain ranges in Asia, the Kangal has become a legend reborn. But the journey from ancient protector to global guardian was not easy. For centuries, the Kangal existed in silence, unknown beyond Turkey, hidden among the hills it served. Then, in the 20th century, as roads reached villages and curiosity reached borders, people began to notice. Travelers spoke of dogs that could face wolves without fear, that guarded flocks with wisdom instead of violence. Stories became reports, reports became fascination. Soon the Kangal was no longer just a Turkish secret. It became a symbol of loyalty and strength admired by the world. But fame, like the wind, can carry both warmth and danger. When the Kangal began to spread across continents, people saw only its power. They saw the videos, one dog holding off a wolf, another towering above men. They saw muscle and myth, but not meaning. They didn't see the patience that came before the strike. They didn't see the centuries of selective breeding, the balance of strength and gentleness that made the Kangal what it is. And so, in some places, the breed was misunderstood, crossed, altered, exaggerated. People wanted a fighter, not a guardian. They bred for size, for dominance, for spectacle, forgetting that the true Kangal does not fight for glory. It fights only for peace. Back in Turkey, that misunderstanding hurt deeply, because to the people of Sivas, the Kangal is not a trophy. It's a part of their identity, a living heirloom, a national treasure protected by law. The Turkish government declared the breed a national asset, forbidding its export without permission. Breeders formed associations, scientists studied its genetics, and shepherds continued to raise it the old way. Not in kennels, but in the open, among sheep, under stars. For them, purity is not about papers, it's about purpose. A true Kangal must still do what its ancestors did: guard the flock, guard the land, and never lose its calm. And yet, beyond Turkey, a different kind of legacy was forming. In the rugged landscapes of Namibia, Kangals were introduced to protect livestock from cheetahs. Farmers, tired of losing animals and resorting to lethal traps, found a better way. They brought in Kangals, and something incredible happened. The dogs didn't kill the predators. They prevented the conflict. Cheetahs avoided farms guarded by Kangals. Livestock deaths dropped, and suddenly, conservation and agriculture could coexist. The Kangal had done what no fence or weapon could do. It restored balance. In the American Midwest, ranchers began to use them too, guarding cattle, alpacas, goats, even endangered species. Wherever they went, they brought not fear, but peace. Because the Kangal's presence says one simple thing: this place is protected. And that message crosses all languages, all continents, all creatures. But the world's attention also brought pressure. Everyone wanted one. Few understood what that meant. The Kangal is not a dog for vanity or trend. It is a guardian that requires space, purpose, and respect. It does not live for entertainment. It lives for duty. When kept without that purpose, it grows restless, disconnected, like a warrior with no battle to fight. That's why true breeders, both in Turkey and abroad, stress one thing above all. The Kangal is not a pet. It's a partnership. You do not own it. You earn it. When treated with respect, it becomes everything its legend promises. Loyal beyond measure, patient with children, intelligent beyond expectation. It does not crave affection. It embodies it. It does not bark at strangers, it judges them. And if it chooses to protect you, it will do so until its last breath. In modern Turkey, Kangals still roam the same hills their ancestors once did, bells clanging softly from the flocks they guard. The shepherds still whistle at dawn. The wind still moves across the steppe. And in that endless horizon, the silhouette of the Kangal still stands, strong, silent, unchanged. Because time cannot erode what is written in devotion. No matter how far it travels, no matter how famous it becomes, the Kangal's heart belongs to Anatolia. It may live in new lands, under new skies, but when it looks toward the distance, it still sees home. The same hills, the same flocks, the same duty, and that is how a dog became a bridge between past and present, a creature that teaches humanity what strength truly means, not in power, but in peace. The sun sets over Anatolia, painting the hills in gold. The flock returns, the shepherd rests, but the Kangal does not. It stands quietly on the ridge, eyes scanning the fading light, ears catching every sound, heart beating with the rhythm of 1,000 generations. Because the Kangal is more than a guardian, it is the soul of a land. To understand it, you must forget power, forget fame, forget the videos and the myths. You must listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. Then you will hear what the Kangal truly says. I exist so that others may live in peace. That is its creed. Simple, unspoken, eternal. From birth, a Kangal is taught not through command, but through example. It learns from the flock, the shepherd, the earth itself. It learns patience by watching the sunrise, discipline by walking the same paths day after day, and love by standing guard through the storms. In its silence lies wisdom older than language. It doesn't crave approval. It doesn't need applause. It simply does its duty, perfectly, quietly, completely. That's why even today when a Kangal pup is born in Turkey, it is not treated as property. It is welcomed. The villagers gather, the elders bless it, and they say the same words they've said for centuries. May your heart be brave, your watch be endless, your spirit be pure. Because a Kangal does not just protect sheep, it protects honor, it protects trust, it protects life. Its loyalty is not limited by ownership or distance. When it chooses someone, it does so for life. Not with desperation, but with quiet certainty. And once that bond is made, nothing can break it. There are stories of Kangals walking miles to return to the shepherd who raised them, of dogs that stood between wolves and children, of guardians that refused to eat until their master came home. But the Kangal never tells those stories. It doesn't need to. Its actions have already written them into the land. Look into its eyes, and you'll see what makes it eternal. A balance of ferocity and peace, humility and pride, solitude and belonging. It is both warrior and monk, both lion and sage. And that is what makes the Kangal not just a protector of flocks, but a reflection of humanity itself. Because in its unwavering loyalty, it shows us what we could be. Strong without cruelty, brave without arrogance, faithful without demand. That's the true power of the Kangal. Not its size, not its bite, but its heart. A heart that beats for others. A heart that never forgets where it came from, even in distant lands, when it lies beneath new stars. Some part of it still dreams of Anatolia, of the cold wind across the plateau, of the sound of bells in the distance, of the shepherd's whistle calling it home. Because no matter how far it travels, the Kangal carries its home inside. And when the night grows long and the world grows uncertain, it will still stand, tall, silent, unafraid, the same way it always has, guarding what matters, loving without words, living without fear. That is the legacy of the Kangal, not muscle, not myth, but meaning. A living reminder that true strength is gentle, that true courage is calm, and that the truest loyalty does not need to be taught, only remembered. And as the stars rise above the Anatolian plains, the Kangal remains where it has always been, watching, waiting, belonging. The last guardian of a timeless bond between land, man, and love.